What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing another very solid run ahead in the Spring Cup, starting off with a 9-game win streak with this team consisting of Shadow Cacturn in the lead, Paldean Taurus as the safe swap, and Barbaracle as the closer. Now just to let you guys know, I used this team in between my two recent videos, and I will be honest, it feels like the meta has shifted a little bit since then, so whether this team still holds up, I'm not so sure, but either way, with that being said, let's just get into the question of the day. What do you think is the best Pokemon in any meta? It doesn't have to be just in the Spring Cup, that typically doesn't run any stab, fast, or charge attacks. And if you don't know what stab means, it means same type attack bonus, so essentially any Pokemon that uses moves that aren't actually of the same typing that Pokemon is. Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so heading into the first battle, leading Shadow Cacturn into Lapras. So this is an amazing lead matchup for me, and the opponent is choosing to stay in initially. Now, I'm not going to throw straight away, assuming the opponent might go for an Ice Beam immediately, so I'm able to grab a full extra Sucker Punch in for free before the opponent swaps into Amoonguss. Now, I've only got resisted charge moves here, but I'm going to go for a Trailblaze. Trailblaze is double resisted, but it's going to boost up my attack. I'm firing off a second Trailblaze, and again, Trailblaze still not going to do that much damage, but now these Sucker Punches are really starting to chunk. At this point, I can just safely double shield my Shadow Cacturn, go for a full Sucker Punch farm down, coming out close to another charge move already, and the opponent comes back in with the Lapras, so I'm going to over farm, throw at the last second here before the opponent reaches another charge move. Trailblaze gets the KO, they're saving their final shield for Galarian Weezing, but there's just nothing they can do here, assuming they're on Sludge and Overheat. Both moves are resisted. Sludge doesn't do much damage. I'm going to go for a Cross Chop here. Honestly, I probably should just commit to a full Mud Slap farm down at this point, but either way, I grabbed the final shield. The opponent is going to now over farm, but I'm able to reach another Cross Chop. Cross Chop is double resisted. Honestly, Mud Slap probably does more damage than that, but either way, it does not matter. Sludge does not take us out there. Mud Slap gets the KO, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there. Into the next battle, we see a Galarian Weezing in the lead. So this, of course, very tricky as my team is ABA, double weak to the Fairy typing, but I'm going to swap into my Tauros. The opponent is going to go straight for a Sludge here, but Tauros able to tank that, and I might potentially be able to reach a second Aqua Jet if the opponent commits to a full farm down. The first one grabs the shield, and I'm just barely able to get to a second Aqua Jet. That is absolutely huge for me. An Aqua Jet does connect, it does respectable damage, and it puts them into a very comfortable Mud Slap farm down range for my Barbaracle. The opponent is going to stay in here. They fire off the Overheat for some reason, which is double resisted and non-stab. That literally makes zero sense to me whatsoever. But either way, they come in with a Shadow Abomasnow. I go straight for Cross Chop, and Cross Chop should actually now allow me to just go for a full Mud Slap farm down if I double shield. Now I'm going to go for one Mud Slap, fire off a Cross Chop here. If the opponent does shield, I probably will shield the next charge move from the opponent unless they throw immediately, because this is just going to be a resisted Weather Ball, which I'm able to tank, and I can still commit to the full Mud Slap farm down. The opponent comes in with a Lapras. I'm going straight for Grass Knot. Grass Knot going to hit for super effective damage. I'm now going to swap into my Shadow Cacturn. The opponent is going to bank a charge move, I believe, swap back into the Weezing, but they full send the Overheat, so they reach a Sludge. They're not going to reach two moves, which means I can fully farm them down with the Sucker Punches, go for a Dynamic Punch straight away into Lapras coming back in, and of course, Dynamic Punch, when it does connect, will be taking out the Lapras, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there. Into the next battle, see Shadow Cacturn into Gastrodon. So, a great lead matchup for me. The opponent's going to safe swap into a Klefki. So, I'm going to come in with my Barbaracle here. I'm not going to fire off a Cross Chop just because I don't think it will quite KO. So, instead, I'm going to shield. The opponent full sends a Flash Cannon, which means I can go for the full Mud Slap farm down, coming out with 100 energy. And we've got the perfect coverage for the Gastrodon coming back in. We full send the Grass Knot. It gets the one shot from full health. And they come in with their final Pokemon, a Shadow Amoonguss. Now, this is still a little bit tricky for us. I'm going to go farm up a lot of energy, go for a Cross Chop, and again, Shadow Cacturn, whilst my charge moves are resisted, we don't really care about that. It's the fast move pressure that we can deal with these Sucker Punches. I'm going to go for a Trailblaze, but we've already put them into the red health range with just the fast move damage alone. The opponent does reach a last second charge move, and from this range, Sludge Bomb easily takes out the Shadow Cacturn, but I can come back in with Barbaracle, go for one Mud Slap, fire off the Cross Chop, it's resisted, but Cross Chop takes out Shadow Amoonguss, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up in there. Into the next battle, we see a Shadow for Alligator in the lead. So, this is a great matchup for me. But the opponent's going to swap into one of the worst core breakers for the entire team, Atropius. And honestly, at this point, I'm just thinking like, oh, there's just no way we can win this game. But I'm going to play it out anyways. We're going to shield up the area lace. The opponent could have gotten away with just going for a Leaf Blade there. But either way, Dynamic Punch, going to be no shielded. And with the Sucker Punch damage, we get them pretty low. But unfortunately, one double kick is just not enough damage to get the KO from that range. So I'm going to have to use a shield here. I've now used both my shields to come back in with Shadow for Alligator, and luckily Taurus does at least resist all of their charge moves. However, it doesn't really make that much of a difference. Hydro Cannon is still going to do quite a lot of damage in this matchup. The opponent goes for the Hydro Cannon. It puts us into farm down range, but not before I reach a last second Trailblaze. So Trailblaze should be grabbing the final shield. I'm now going to swap, and the opponent just blind swaps into a Fire Fang Shadow Mawile, and this is literally perfect for me. I can now just go straight for Cross Chop. Cross Chop, gonna get the KO there. The opponent should be able to reach a Hydro Cannon, but those Fire Fangs really did not do any dent at all to our HP. I'm able to reach a Cross Chop at the last second, and from this range, Cross Chop is able to take out Shadow for Alligator, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there. Into the next battle, see Shadow Cat turn into Lapras once again. So, a great matchup for me once again. The opponent's going to say swap into a Ferrothorn, and this is absolutely fine with me. The opponent is going to go for a charge move straight away. It's going to be a Mirror Shot, which is okay. Mirror Shot does not debuff my attack. They're already at a second Mirror Shot, but that's okay with me as well, as I can tank one charge move. And I realize without any debuffs to my attack, I'm able to go for a full Sucker Punch farm down, coming out with back-to-back charge moves. So, let's see what the opponent wants to do. The opponent comes in with a Fire Fang Mawile. So I'm going straight for Dynamic Punch here. Dynamic Punch does not get respected. It does huge damage. We swap into our Taurus, and the opponent responds with the Lapras. But of course, this is a good matchup for us. Of course, Side Waves are going to hit for super effective damage, but that's okay. They can only hit for resisted charge moves unless they're on Skull Bash. So, Sparkling Aria doesn't do much damage. I can reach a last second Trailblaze. Trailblaze should be grabbing the final shield from the opponent. It does exactly that. They can farm me down, but Cacturn has a Trailblaze already loaded. We throw it straight away into Lapras. Trailblaze gets the KO. I can come in with Barbaracle, go for the Mud Slap farm down up against the Mawile, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there. Into the next battle, see a Galarian Weezing in the lead once again. So, once again, get a say swap into my Taurus. And again, the opponent not throwing on the best timing here. So, I'm going to no shield. We've already seen that I should be able to reach 2 Aqua Jets before they fully farm me down. So, we go for the first one. Aqua Jet is going to grab the shield. But actually, it turns out that was an IV-dependent matchup there, because I guess they did more damage with the Sludge, or maybe even the Fairy Winds there. But either way, we do not live to reach a second Aqua Jet, and that is so much worse for me. I can, of course, come in with Barbaracle. I still wall the moveset, but the opponent realizing they can just swap out now into Dugong. I'm going straight for Grass Knot here. Grass Knot is going to connect. It does big damage. At this point, I'm going to have to start using my shields. So I'm going to shield. The opponent does bait with an Icy Wind, and actually dropping my attack there is going to be massive, because I tried to snipe with Shadow Cacturn, but I swapped out too late there. I'm not able to get the Sucker Punch farm down, and this game is now unfortunately over, as they've got Ferrothorn in the back. There's nothing I can do here. I can farm up to 100 energy, but 2 cross chops, well, probably one of them gets shielded anyways, so unfortunately I do lose that game. But GG's up on there. Into the next battle, see Empoleon in the lead, so I'm going to stay in this matchup initially just to see what the fast move was. I'm now going to swap into my Taurus, and the opponent comes in with Galissapod. Now, most Galissapod I've seen were on X's, but this one is actually on Aerial Ace, so I'm very glad I shielded there. I can now fire off a Trailblaze, and Taurus, I believe, should win CMP in this matchup. So if they throw immediately, I can win CMP here. We've got the shield. Trailblaze is boosted. Unfortunately, even with that boost, it's not going to be enough to flip this matchup, but I put them into range where Cacturn can just come in and go for a Sucker Punch farm down. Now the opponent's going to come in with their final Pokemon, a Fire Fang Mawile, and once again, Barbaracle is going to absolutely shut down that Mawile. I'm going to shield up the Hydro Cannon here. I'm now going to commit to a huge Mud Slap farm down, although those Steel Wings did actually get me fairly low here, so a little bit awkward for me, but either way, we've got 100 energy. Cross Chop grabs the final shield. I can live a Power Punch from this range, and I've got back-to-back Cross Chops loaded now, so I'm going to fire off the first one here. This will be connecting. Cross Chop, going to do some decent damage there, and a second Cross Chop easily gets the KO up against this Shadow Mawile. So Cross Chop is going to eventually connect. I don't understand why people like back out of the app like at the last possible second. What is even the point in that? But either way, GG's to the opponent there. into the next battle, we're going to see Shadow Cacturn into Galarian Weezing once again. So at this point, we realize Tauros might not actually live 2 charge moves here, or live a charge move and then get the full farm down before I reach back-to-back Aqua Jet. So I shield, they actually go for a brutal swing there. So at this point, I'm thinking, that's a bit awkward for me. But either way, I'm going to go for an Aqua Jet just in case the opponent was on brutal swing and sludge. So at this point, because I no shield and they are on sludge, and oh man, that really sucks. And then I'm like in shambles right now. So I actually accidentally come in with my Cacturn there, forced to use a shield. What the heck is even going on at this point? They're going to come in with a Mantine. I can go for Trailblaze. They actually no shield that, and that is huge for me. They're going for the full farm down, which means we can come in with Barbaracle, and they're only going to reach an Aerial Ace, which is resisted damage. Please be Mawile in the back. No, it's going to be Greninja, and unfortunately, we lose CMP here. At this point, Hydro Cannon won't quite be enough damage to get the KO, but it doesn't really matter at this point. I can go for the cross chop. Cross chop is going to actually be no shielded by the opponent. The opponent going for a 2-shield flex, and they're able to pull it off, as of course the wing attack damage does register before the Mud Slap. And rather embarrassingly, I do end up losing that game with a 2-shield flex on the opponent's end. But GG's up on there into the next battle. We're going to see the opponent's going to swap into Hisuian Electrode to counter my Tauros safe swap. So obviously not great for me, but I do grab a shield advantage, and I'm able to reach an Aqua Jet before they throw a charge for you. So at this point, Aqua Jet is going to be no shielded. We get them into range where Cacturn can come in and go for a full farm down. They go for Energy Ball there, which means, of course, probably not on Swift, but I do believe the opponent will be able to reach a last second wild charge before I fully farm them down. At this point, Shadow Cacturn so classy, I might as well just use my shield there. And the opponent's going to come back in with their Dugong. So I'm going to go for 4 Sucker Punches, fire off the Trailblaze, and then I will be swapping into my Barbaracle. The opponent does not throw an Icy Wind straight away, but I'm going to call that they're going to bait anyways, and the opponent does bait with the Icy Wind. Fine with me. At this point, I realize because I'm debuffed, Grass Knot probably doesn't quite get the KO. So instead, I'm going to overfarm, shield that up, and they come in with a Galissapod. So I'm going straight for Grass Knot here. Grass Knot is going to do respectable damage, but the opponent will be able to outpace me to the next charge move. Aqua Jet barely doesn't get the KO there. That's absolutely huge for me. So now I'm going to undercharge a Grass Knot, swap into my Shadow Cacturn, get that farm down, come out 1 away from a Dynamic Punch. And Dynamic Punch, of course, going to easily be enough to take out the Dugong, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG's up on there, into the next battle, we see Shadow Cacturn into Shadow Cradily. So this is an okay matchup for me, of course. The Bullet Seeds are resisted. Rock Tomb still going to do quite a lot of damage. It's going to debuff my attack, but I can just boost it straight away with a Trailblaze, so I really don't mind that too much. I'm now going to overfarm, fire off the Trailblaze here, throwing after 4 Sucker Punches once again. Trailblaze is going to be shielded, so now I'm going to swap into my Tauros and catch what I assume to be a resisted Rock Tomb. The opponent does go for Rock Tomb there, fine with me. They stay in initially, but they come in with Superior, and this is absolutely awful for me. I've only got resisted moves to throw, and I've been debuffed, so the opponent can very comfortably commit to a absolutely massive farm down here. And their energy is going to be so good up against my team here. Basically, an Aerial Ace is going to one-shot the Cacturn, and a Frenzy Plant easily one-shots a Barbaracle, so I don't really know what to do. I come in with Cacturn. I didn't expect them to just blind throw, otherwise maybe could have come in with the Barbaracle here, but they've got back-to-back, so I swap. I tried to catch the Aerial Ace, but this time they hold onto the energy, so just getting completely outplayed by this opponent. Frenzy Plant gets the KO, and unfortunately, because they do overfarm there, they're actually able to reach an Aerial Ace as well. I can't even talk at this point. Aerial Ace easily takes out the Cacturn, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG's up on there into the next battle. Awful lead matchup for me. I'm going to be safe swapping into my Tauros, and I am able to outpace them to a Trailblaze before they do reach a charge move. Now, of course, double kick and counters are both neutral, but counters hit considerably harder in this matchup. So I'm going to shield. They do, of course, just go for an Icy Wind there, but I kind of needed to shield that up, as of course, I've got 2 Pokemon that are weak to counter in the back. The opponent comes in with a Lapras. I can go for Trailblaze. Trailblaze does respectable damage, but I'm actually going to stop attacking, which means I can now come in with my Shadow Cacturn and get slightly more energy. The opponent going to go for a Skull Bash, which means they're actually going to boost up their defense, which means I actually get slightly more energy there, which is actually quite nice for me. I'm now going to wait for the opponent to come in, probably with the Poliwrath, so we go straight for the Trailblaze here. Trailblaze is going to grab the final shield for the opponent. I swap, and the opponent actually swaps at the same time there. Very risky on the opponent's end, just in case I stayed in with my Cacturn, but of course, I guess that was a pretty obvious swap out. Either way, the opponent does not throw a charge move, and that is very smart on the opponent's end, because it forces me to go straight for that Grass Knot, so they can outpace me to the Icy Wind, and Shadow Cacturn just has no chance up against a counter Poliwrath, and unfortunately I do lose that game. But GG top on there, into the next battle, see Gastrodon in the lead, the opponent's going to say swap into a Shadow Mawile on Fire Fang, and we can just completely shut them down here. I'm going to no-shield this, the opponent going to go for the Iron Head, which does quite a lot of damage actually, but either way, I get the full farm down, and again, I've got the perfect coverage for the Gastrodon coming back in. Gastrodon going to be straight in and straight out. Shout out to Jamie Finn for that quote, and at this point, this is game over. I can go straight for the cross chop there. Cross chop does respectable damage. At this point, the opponent probably just not going to bother shielding, so I'm going to do the exact same thing here. I'm going to let the Shadow Cacturn go down, but they actually go for a foul play, so now I'm just going to play with my food here. I don't even know why. I'm going to come in with the Tauros, no shield the foul play there as I swap and catch the charge move, get the double kick farm down, and I'm able to take that game. So, GG top on there, into next battle, see Golisopod in the lead. So this is a pretty good matchup for me, of course, Exeter or Aerial Ace, doesn't really matter which one. Either way, it's going to hit for super effective damage. I'm going to shield regardless, and I'm now going to overfarm in this matchup. I can't quite get a full farm down, so I swap. We've seen Exeter. Exeter is resisted up against the fighting typing, and they come in with a Ferrothorn. So this is fine with me. I can go straight for the Aqua Jet here. Aqua Jet not going to do much damage, but it might grab a shield if the opponent doesn't know the coverage of this Pokemon. So this point, I'm happy to no shield. Power Whip will be getting the KO. I can come in with my Shadow Cacturn here, and I could just go for a Dynamic Punch here, but actually I want to boost up my attack. So Trailblaze is double resisted there, and unfortunately it does mean I have to throw another charge move, but I don't mind this. I'm going to be double boosted. Trailblaze number 2 does get the KO. They come in with a Fire Fang Mawile, and Barbaracle absolutely able to shut it down once again. The opponent is going to fire off a Power Up Punch, and we can tank this so comfortably. Power Punch does minimal damage, and the opponent is just going to concede the match. So, GG top on there, into next battle, see Shadow Cacturn into Mawile. So, of course, that is the target for Barbaracle. So, we're going to say swap into our Tauros, and the opponent is going to respond with a Jellicent. Now, I'm going straight for Trailblaze here. Trailblaze going to hit for super effective damage, and a second Trailblaze will be enough damage to get the KO. Now, every time I've gone up against a Jellicent so far in this meta, they've always baited with a Surf, and the one time I no shield, they full send the Shadow Ball, and that is very unfortunate because I'm not able to flip switch advantage, and the opponent also reaches a last second charge move up against my Cacturn. So Surf is going to be resisted. You wouldn't know it based on that damage. We come in with the Barbaracle, but they've got Ferrothorn in the back, and there's just not a lot we can do here. Whilst we do have coverage with that cross chop, these bullet seeds are seriously chunking. They're hitting for double super effective damage. I'm going to shield this as the opponent does go straight for the Power Whip. I'm now going to overfarm here and go for a Cross Chop just before the opponent reaches their next Power Whip. Cross Chop is going to get them fairly low there, and I do reach a last second Cross Chop, but at this point these Bullet Seeds have chunked so much that actually they can come in with the Mawile and probably just Fire Fang farm me down, which is incredibly unfortunate. And not only that, they're going to boost up their attack with the Power Up Punch, which means unfortunately Shadow Cacturn will not be able to reach a charge move up against the Mawile. I'm going to swap out anyways, try, but I'm not able to get there because of the boosted Fire Fangs. And finally, Mawile is able to get a 1-up up against Barbaracle, taken out with a Power-Up Punch, and unfortunately, I do lose that game. But GG stuff on there, into next battle, another Galarian Weezing in the lead. So I say swap into Tauros, and the opponent responds with a Ferrothorn. Now, the last one did actually shield the first move, so I'm going for Trailblaze here. Trailblaze is double resisted, but it grabs the shield, and the boosted double kicks are so huge in this matchup now. Because of that, I will actually be able to get a KO with an Aqua Jet from this range. So I throw on the CMP tie here, and Aqua Jet from this range does get the KO. I'm already boosted as well. They come back in with the Weezing. I can go straight for a boosted Aqua Jet, and Aqua Jet is going to be shielded by the opponent, and at this point I'm happy to let the Tauros go down. The opponent does throw it on very good timing just as I'm reaching another Aqua Jet. Sludge gets the KO, but that's okay. We can come in with the Barbaracle, completely wall the Galarian Weezing here. Gonna no shield, they go for another Sludge there, absolutely fine with me. I'm now going to continue to go for a Mud Slap farm down. Because these are non-stab Mud Slaps though, of course you can see it's not doing that much damage, but the opponent then swaps, catches the Grass Knot onto Credilli. That's fine with me. We can now swap into my Shadow Cacturn, and I won't be able to go for a full farm down here, but it doesn't really matter. At this point, I'm going to shield the Rock Tomb. They're going to debuff my attack, so I'm just going to boost it straight away again with a Trailblaze, over farming, throwing on the CMP tie. Trailblaze will be taking out Credilli. The opponent will have to throw a charge move, and at this point they realize there's nothing they can do, so they just concede the match. So GG to them there into the final battle of this video, and a huge core breaker for the team. I was thinking, well, I'm going to stay in just to see if maybe it's on leafage, but nope. And they come in with a Shadow Gyarados. Like, what is this spicy team from the opponent? Very cool to see, except when I'm running this team, which is just getting completely destroyed by these Pokemon. But either way, we are going to shield here and then make a pretty big error here. I actually go for the Aqua Jet. I was thinking, if I go for Aqua Jet here, and the opponent lets it go through, I might be able to reach an Aqua Jet up against Lurantis, but actually, because I didn't boost up my attack there, the opponent able to reach a last-second charge move. And if I shielded that, I think I was at 1 HP, so I would have just got the KO anyways, and they've got Araquanid in the back. There's nothing I can do, and so I just concede the match. So that's going to be it for today's video. If you did enjoy it, please make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know, and as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way, you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. And if you want to take your support even further, you can now become a channel member with perks including early access to new videos, shoutouts at the end of each video, custom loyalty badges, and custom emojis to use in the comments. I want to say a massive thank you to everyone that has already become a channel member. Your support is greatly appreciated, and with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.